Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Studio. I'm Tyler Tully, and joining me today is Magnetite Mines CEO Tim Dobson to talk us through the details of its renounceable rights issue, aiming to raise $4.1 million for the Razorback project. Tim, thanks for joining us.
Great. Good morning, Tyler. Great to be here. Thank you.
So, talk to us about this renounceable rights issue.
Sure. So today we're announcing a renounceable rights issue. It's a pro rata issue to eligible shareholders. For every 5 shares that current shareholders have, eligible shareholders will be offered one new share at a price of 20 cents per share. Now, our shareholders will recall that we've recently completed another capital raising 2 months ago. That capital raised us just under $1.2 million, which was great, but it was not enough for us to continue the programs that we have ahead. And so we're now launching this new rights issue with some much more attractive pricing around it and a couple of other benefits, which I'll go through. So the pricing of this rights issue is at 20 cents per share, and there will be one free attaching option attached to every share purchased under this new rights issue. And those options have attractive pricing of 30 cents per share and will expire in 3 years. So quite a valuable component for this particular rights issue. Also, this rights issue is partially underwritten to the tune of $2 million. So we're seeking to raise $4.1 million, and we have $2 million of that underwritten on this occasion. Now, the board and management want to really thank and acknowledge shareholders that participated recently in the previous entitlement offer. And to that end, we are offering all of the shareholders that did in fact subscribe for shares under that previous offer to apply for a free attaching option as well under the same terms that I've just described in today's new rights issue. So that's a way that the board can acknowledge and thank shareholders for their loyalty at a time when we did need an injection of cash. So that really sums up the highlights of today's rights issue.
And you have made a number of significant announcements over the past several months. Can you talk us through some of these updates that you've made to market?
Yeah, quite an exciting time for us and the project and the development. Those that have been following our stock will understand that there's a significant momentum building on the green metals and green iron front, with which, of course, our magnetite concentrates will be a key requirement to progress this new industry opportunity for Australia. So most significantly, we've been working on strategic partnering for our project for the best part of 2 years now. And for around 14 months, we were developing a relationship with JFE. JFE is the second largest steelmaker in Japan. This is a targeted relationship that we had. We believe that JFE, as a Japanese steelmaking company, is an ideal partner as an off-taker for the product that we'll be producing out of Australia and out of South Australia, out of our Razorback project. So we recently announced a heads of agreement with JFE Shoji, Proprietary Limited Australia. Now that's the Australian trading arm of JFE Group, which incorporates JFE Steel. That is a significant announcement. It's an unusual announcement for JFE. They haven't done a transaction like this for something like 15 or 18 years. And it's been signed off. The heads of agreement was signed off by JFE Steel, JFE Holdings, and JFE Shoji. Now, on the back of that heads of agreement, we are now working towards definitive final legal documents to cement that relationship, which will provide us significant funding to progress our project to FID, the final investment decision. And in exchange for that, JFE will get 10% of our offtake for 15 years from the stage one of our project. So that was a major milestone for the company, a long time in the making. But we've also announced another potential partnership with a non-binding memorandum of understanding with Zen Energy. Zen is an Australian renewable energy company with ambitions to participate wholly in the new green iron thematic. They have large renewable energy projects very close to our Razorback project in South Australia, and we're working closely with them as we face the government of South Australia's expressions of interest process into a new green iron industry building in the state. So there's 2 key relationships. Another piece of news that we announced was another significant breakthrough in that we in-house we've developed a method to process our magnetite on site using saline water, which means seawater, instead of having to use fresh water or desalinated water. Now, this has been a technical risk for all of the magnetite projects in the state of South Australia and all across the country in that for that matter. And we've developed a way to use seawater, which has a much improved operating and capital cost base than having to use fresh water, as you can imagine. So there was 3 significant announcements that we made in the period of less than a month just recently. So hopefully shareholders can see that we've made some significant step ups in the project and its de-risking as we move forward. And just before I finish this topic, I mentioned the South Australian Expression of Interest process. We are working with 3 industry partners to put in a combined expression of interest to the South Australian government into their current process for a green iron project by 2030. Our submission will be centred around building our Razorback mine, and that will be put in before the expiry date, which is the end of September. And the federal government has also recently completed an expression of interest, or an industry consultation process under the industry minister to look at green metals in Australia, which includes green iron and steel as well. So we made a 30-page submission into the federal government just recently as well, advocating for South Australia and, of course, our project, and making recommendations on what we believe the government needs to do to support this new industry. So there's a whole range of things going on in the background. What we do need is working capital, hence the need for this rights issue announcement today.
And I think that is a good segue. Talk to us, what are the funds going to be used for?
Sure. So we're setting out to raise $4 million. As I mentioned earlier, $2 million of that is already underwritten. That money will go directly towards the progressing 2 key activities. One is to give us working capital to complete our transaction with JFE, that very important strategic partnering transaction that I mentioned. And another big chunk of work that we need to do is to submit our mining lease proposal to the Department of Energy and Mining in South Australia. That has a big check that we need to attach to it before they'll accept it. And we've been waiting to have the right amount of working capital in our treasury before triggering that approvals process. Once that's gone in, the state government are then required to process that mining lease proposal over the next 6 to 12 months.
So what do the next couple of months look like for the company?
Yeah, once we've closed this rights issue and we've secured the funds that we need, our major priority, of course, is that transaction with JFE. But we've also in discussions with a number of other strategic partners. JFE are very open to having other partners to come in to support magnetite mines as we progress this project. So and they're actually helping introduce us to other partners as well. But we have a range of potential partners that we are progressing discussions with towards another partnering transaction. So that's fundamental to our near stage priorities. And then progressing that mining lease proposal, as I mentioned before. And then on top of that, we need to do a lot more work on the saline water piece. So the first test was a breakthrough test. We now need to prove it across the ore body. So we need to spend money on more metallurgical test work to prove that we can use seawater, which will fundamentally shift the nature of our project.
Tim, very exciting times for magnetite mines. We look forward to hearing all about it.
Great. Thank you very much, Tyler. Thanks for your time today.